buses, right? Then we can do like that as many trips as you want. We know the routes and all other things, but we don't do that. We don't do that because of the cost implication. Do you have any idea, as a transit operator, what is the biggest operational cost?
Staff salary.
It's the driver's hours. So that drives a lot of those kind of frequency, and with the demand, of course. And at the same time, like if you are not doing that way, then the transit, like you'll see the empty buses, that might not like be helpful for getting more funding in the future. So it's very important. Based on the service standard, there are service standards for different types of route, and the passenger demand is there also. Vehicle scheduling is another big thing within transit planning. Is in each day you have to assign vehicles to different types of routes by optimizing them in different ways. Because not just one bus is actually running that entire line. There is a whole back end of which bus will deadhead somewhere and then serve another route. So that's an important piece, which depends on your trip time, operator constraints, your driver scheduling, all of those. The final one is the crew scheduling. Like that's also important to look at. So those are the main responsibilities that you guys might have when you will be a transit planner. So for the transit, so those are more short-term day-to-day, like the thought, like all the responsibility and the task you might be performing. But there should be also a strategy, like long-term planning for transit. You have to think about like how and what type of service you will be offering. You have to think about the capacity, operating speed, and the reliability. If there is a reliability issue, that means you need to go for the right of way B or A as much as you can. But that should be your next stage. But there should be a long-term, like kind of a sequential plan of upgrading one system to another. One good example who did it well is Auto, for example. They started with the BRT line, and they thought, oh, after a few years, when we will have more funding, we'll go to LRT. But we will try to keep the same level of service. So you will see that they are replacing most of the BRT to the LRT now. So actually, they are actually bringing the transit in a more effective way to serve those areas. And there are also medium and long-term planning consideration for strategic planning. You have to think about the land uses. One is you plan transportation or transit line based on the land use, but at the same time you think, oh, if we build, what will be the land use implications? Usually the housing price goes up, usually the development pressure goes up, usually more apartments and high density areas grow. So those are the positive benefits. So in your analysis for the strategic transit plan, you must include those kind of potential as much as you can, or study on that. And there could be also some short-run changes in congestion and all of those kind of things. Long-term impact would be also economic activities, like the relocation of the firms. These are slow, but it happens. The Amazon example, for example, when they were asking for bid for different cities for their second headquarters, one of the criteria was how good transit system you have. Meaning that they needed to move their employees to those locations at the same time. Many other benefits like the back end supply chain to those activity areas. So those are very important. And also you have to think about both capital cost and operating cost. That is one biggest issue. Sometimes it's easy to just get your transit and get the hype and put the transit, but maybe you don't have the operating cost. For the smaller communities, that becomes an issue. Say, for example, Bridgewater. This year we did a consulting work, and they got a fixed route transit. They're doing it on a pilot basis for only 8,000 population. It's an incredibly good approach and an attempt. But the question is that council is quite concerned about the operating cost, where they're coming from. Is it from the municipal tax base? So those kind of things. So we have to, for the medium and long-term planning purposes, we have to really think very deeply on the capital cost and the operating cost that we have. So though it needs a multi-stakeholder engagement, right, within the department. So transit actually planning becomes that exercise is very important. And now I will show very quickly. Do you have any question on transit short-term planning considerations and the long-term planning considerations? No. So this is another way of just looking at like how we can think about strategically for different types of settlements. What type of transit we should be introducing. Wojcik has this theory of mode evolution. If you have less than 100,000, maybe you have a few narrow roads, few residences, maybe then you'll be mostly served by the private auto in general, and then supplemented by taxis or walking. But whenever you grow 100 to 500 population, bus rapid transit fixed route, that's what you would be looking for. And the more you have, half a million to 2 million, you are actually going for more better right-of-way B or LRT type of system. And for the large city, you need right-of-way A kind of a subway system and others. That's why in Halifax, for example, we cannot start thinking about subway to begin with, because of the population base that needs is not there. So the biggest way we can make a difference, if we would like to go for a multimodal system planning, probably for our best bet will be bus rapid transit. Our best bet for this tenor. That's why I will be emphasizing more on the bus rapid transit, because we have seen Bogota, Colombia, they have really did a wonderful job. That's a big city, but Ottawa, in Canadian experiences, have had good examples in many North American cities. This is an example. It gives some physical identity that you need. It acts like a rail. It brings most of those benefits, but it's still flexible. Like you can shift the routes as the city grows, as those which is not feasible from subway or other kinds of transportation. Any question?
I have something to add actually a little bit further back. So you were talking about all the different components of a transit system, and I have another one that I'm aware of, I mean, you have a comment about it, is the legibility of the system. Like, can a user show up, figure it out, understand how the system can be used?
Yes. That's also wayfinding.
Yeah,
wayfinding and understanding. Yes, those are part of the user experience. Yes.
So I mean that's played out on the ground at the transit stops.
It's a fine tuning. Yes, it's a part of your station design. It's a part of your stop design. It's a part of even your route planning and timetabling process. Because timetable is one internally I do, and at the same time delivering it. And letting people know actually what kind of connections you can do. There are many services sometimes untapped, people don't know about. That's why maybe those are untapped. But yes, that's an important one. But I thought that's a part of those route planning exercise, at the same time part of the station design.
Yeah.
And you will see some example in the BRT lecture that I'll start now. How many of you think BRT is feasible in Halifax? Just gut feeling. Okay, looks like. Yeah. I'm a big believer. For last 5 years, like I am a big believer. That should be the starting point, and it should start as a network. Not one line, not two line. Let's have a 1X and a Y to begin with, right? 1X and Y. The way that Toronto, I really like Toronto's simplistic a subway system design. It's kind of a X and Y. The Yonge and Bloor University is in one line, and then the other line. So it's actually covering, and then the buses can come as a feeder service to bring to those substations. So the same concept, the same planning concept, if we can think, that could be our bus rapid line, and then we feed into that system through feeder buses, at the same time pedestrian and pedestrian as well as the bike network. In Halifax, it's possible because we have also some linear growth. If you look 1 or 2 linear growth, that's the suburbs are there, or Portland Street. The structure shows me it's possible to bring like at least 2 lines from 2 sides or 3 sides, right? And then grow from there. If we have more demand, we can see all of those kind of things. So that's possible, that's feasible, it just needs someone, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm from Toronto. I know a lot of people complain about the subway system because they think like the 2 lines should have maybe previously been placed in different places or whatever. Do you have thoughts on that?
I think there is strong arguments we could have grown that network substantially, but as a beginning point, that's what I like. It's not like Toronto was the pioneer in public transit, but the criticism comes from, oh, they haven't evolved that transit network as they should have been, the way Paris did, New York did, or other North American cities. In North America, the Toronto system was a pioneering system, it didn't grow. But what I liked most is their starting point was more this coverage, which offers some sort of a flexibility to fill in with other types of service. Then you can have now parallel BRT or parallel LRT, parallel other kinds of things, and then you can have a grid system of transit system itself. So the growth, the flexibility in the design is offered by that kind. But I totally get it. Like there was not enough things happen, and it's now difficult. Even for Toronto, I can see LRT and BRT is the next thing than the subway system, because the way we have already developed in various places, the construction period, this city are the economic engine. Even the construction could disrupt and cripple a city. Just for our small experience, like Nova Center, reconstruction. It took a long time. It's a problematic issue. The Big Lift project, like the redecking of the McDonald Bridge, right? That had issue for both active transportation people as well as other people, although like they have opened it in the day, during the daytime. But I'm waiting to see the Cogswell replacement. Yeah.
I have a question about the flexibility of BRT versus like LRT, so more to the permanent. When you're thinking about investment in the city and land value and land use, having a flexible system means that, and general perception is that people don't want to invest as much into
You are
that area.
absolutely right. Absolutely right. Yeah, my thought is yes, you're absolutely right. The reason why we let me go back, step back a bit on this particular issue. The reason within a public transit system, rail or GO Transit or commuter rail, all of those kind of things is preferable because it's fixed. So there is a certain type of certainty that the line will exist, the rail will exist, then the developers can come, the land prices goes up, farms start relocating, residents they start doing their residential location choices around those. So that's the best thing that we can hope for. But on the other hand, on other spectrum, if there is only bus-based transit, then we don't have any kind of like certainty that line can exist, so that the land development side or land value side doesn't work. BRT, on the other hand, lies in between in there, so it offers some physical identity because there will be some sort of a grade separation, some sort of a permanency, dedicated lane, at least the higher order part of the BRT network system. But the flexibility comes in more for those the demands are still uncertain. So you have those flexibility there. So say in Ottawa case, the BRT line that runs through that Parliament and those downtown areas, everybody know it's physical, it's there, it's dedicated right of way, it will remain there. But yes, you are right, there is a risk if there is a flexibility. Why should we go for it? But sometimes flexibility can be useful when there is not enough demand and the city structure is not like the final yet. And city is always a dynamic organism. We have seen Detroit, for example, like city grows and die. Neighborhood has a different dynamic. So that's why it's at the same time offers some sort of certainty in particular areas, but on the other hand, it also has some flexibility. If the change in the spatial structure occurs, then it's easier to redo like some of the routing, and that's why I feel it's actually better because it has both kind of attribute. So, for example, the Shepherd Line subway, it didn't work well, but it had nothing to do with that because you don't have that flexibility. So that's why probably we needed that flexibility. Like if BRT, we could have like done redo, like reconstruct in certain ways, not with the bigger ways. Okay. Okay. So let's start some discussion on maybe what I should do is give a 10-minute break before I start BRT. Okay. And I will start this topic right after.
Let you turn it off.